Secretary O'Brien, am I correct that Russia is spending about 25% of its funds on the war, and the United States is spending about 1.5%?
I think Russia's spending more. I think it's 30% of the public budget, and they have a secret budget that's even more. Yes.
Thank you. In your testimony, you start out by talking about how Putin is testing the world's resolve to defend most basic principles, that sovereign nations cannot have their borders changed unilaterally, that dictators cannot punish countries for seeking closer ties with the U.S., and that the United States will stand up when the freedom of our friends and allies is threatened. I certainly agree with all those. I have a series of questions. I hope you can give me a short answer so I can get through them if possible. Do you agree that failure to fund Ukraine will do deep damage to the Atlantic Alliance?
Yes.
Do you agree that failure to fund Ukraine will also put some cracks into NATO?
Yes.
Do you believe that if the U.S. appeases Putin by throwing support for Ukraine overboard, that somehow Putin will never do aggression elsewhere?
President Putin has made clear that once he gets what he wants in Ukraine, he will start looking at the Baltics, he will start looking at Poland and other key allies.
Thank you. And if the U.S. appeases Putin by throwing Ukraine aid overboard, will it enhance China's appetite to use military force on Taiwan?
China will see us as weaker.
Will it encourage other dictators around the world to take additional land?
Yes.
You know, I'm really struck by the parallel to the journey of Chamberlain to Munich to say, okay, Hitler, you can take a third of Czechoslovakia, and then he declared peace in our time under the assumption that somehow this would not whet Hitler's appetite. Did Chamberlain's strategy work?
No.
Will the strategy now of us bailing on Ukraine to appease Putin work?
No, it'll invite more aggression.
I think this is one of the most important decisions we've faced in the time I've been in the Senate, probably the most important decision. I'm astounded that colleagues who supported corrupt government in Afghanistan and an invasion of Iraq now want to bail on the freedom-loving, democracy-defending people of Ukraine who are dying with the cause. And I must say, I think it will be one of the biggest foreign policy mistakes we could make in generations if we bail on Ukraine. Do you agree with that?
Yes, Senator.
If there is a emergency supplemental in which the funding for Ukraine has been thrown overboard, should we pass it?
We've asked for this united supplemental because it is one fight globally.
So we should reject it.
Yes, I think the Senate should pass the full supplemental.
Will President Biden veto a bill in which the funding for Ukraine is thrown overboard?
That's ultimately the president's decision, but he's asked for the supplemental he believes should be passed.
Will you encourage the president to veto a bill in which the funding for Ukraine has been thrown overboard?
I'd encourage the president to make whatever statements needed to get the full supplemental that we need.
My concern is we're going to see a repetition of what we saw earlier when we were facing a continuing resolution in which, you know, the Senate procedures are very, very slow. It takes a week to get a bill to the floor. It takes a week to get the amendment that has the basic proposal in place. And it takes only 1 hour in the House for a proposal to be put up and voted on. I'm afraid they're going to send us a continuing resolution that throws the funding for Ukraine overboard. Should we reject such a strategy from the House of Representatives?
Yes, Senator.
Thank you.